Celeborn greets them first. He says, "Sit down by my chair, Frodo of the Shire. When all have come, we will speak together." Each of the companions he greeted courteously by name as they entered. "Welcome, Aragorn, son of Arathorn," he said. "It's 38 years of the world outside since you came to this land." So he's kind of greeting each person according to what he knows about them, right?
Right.
"Welcome, son of Thranduil. Too seldom do my kindred journey hither from the north. Welcome, Gimli, son of Glóin." So he welcomes them each, but Tolkien kind of skips over him greeting Pippin and Merry and Sam. So since this is speculative Tolkienism, I was wondering, like, what would he have said to Pippin, for instance?
Right. He could be like, "Hey, you." Like,
have we met?
Like, I know he's probably like, "That's weird. What's going on with the B team over here?" Wow.
This is the company you sent to destroy the ring? Wow.
Like, "Dear Elrond, what the frick?"
Dear Elrond, the eels are delicious.
The eels are delicious. What the frick?
What would they say to Boromir?
Sup?
Sup, bro?
Bro, you look like you're from Gondor. It's like, yeah, what of it? Hey, bro. Heard you don't trust us. Kind of talking some shit, huh?
So this is basically you meet Galadriel for the first time, right?
Right.
And she seems to be a powerful woman.
Right. Hey, real quick, before we get into this.
Yeah.
Like, I just noticed this here, right? Aragorn says, and the coming of the terror is like, "An evil of the ancient world, it seems, such as I have never seen before. It was both a shadow and a flame, strong and terrible." Aragorn didn't know that was a Balrog. Am I reading that correctly?
Maybe not. I mean, it's not like, I don't think they ever really had a chance to sit down and say, what was that?
Right, because Legolas is saying it was a Balrog of Morgoth, and of all the elf banes, most deadly, save the orcs who sit on the one who sits in the Dark Tower.
Yeah,
but he did say, like, they did say it was a Balrog in Moria.
So this is the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. I wailed Legolas, a Balrog has come. Gimli stared with wide eyes. "Durin's bane," he cried, and letting his axe fall, he covered his face. "A Balrog," muttered Gandalf. "Now I understand." So, was Aragorn just not listening?
Yeah. But where was Aragorn in this? You know?
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's. I don't know. It's not completely 100% certain that Aragorn go back.
Gandalf muttered. Legolas
but,
was like, "I a Balrog," but then
So an evil of the ancient world. So he knew it was an evil of the ancient world. It seems, as such as I had never seen before. He's never seen a Balrog before. It was both a shadow and a flame, strong and terrible. Maybe he knew it was a Balrog because that had already been discussed. He just doesn't name it. You know?
Right.
But like, he might not know.
Yeah, it's like,
he already talked about it.
Hey guys, what was that? That was terrible.
That was crazy.
That was crazy.
Thing that just
fired flame. I mean, what was going on with that thing?
It just pushed Gandalf down in the scuttle hole.
It's crazy. Is that from the ancient world? Yeah, it's nuts.
That devil just crept out of the scuttle hole and just take Gandalf all back down to hell with him.
It was funny. He had a golden fiddle and everything.
A golden fiddle. That's awesome. I love it. So Aragorn might not have understood that was a Balrog.
Right. Yeah, but anyway, they knew it was Durin's bane. You know,
it was Durin's bane.
But that leads us to this. But
knowing it's a Balrog, does that make it any more terrifying? I mean, really.
I mean, at least I can name it. You know, I mean, at least they're like, well,
it has an ancient
Balrog
history, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. But the main thing I want to discuss is when we finally talk to Galadriel, she seems very courteous and noble. In fact, the word courteous, I'm keen on this word courteous and courtesy and other cognates of that word. On 461, each of the companions he greeted courteously by name as they entered. Celeborn is greeting each of the companions courteously. So the word courteously is interesting, I think, because it has a resonance, or it's actually, the etymology of it is from the court. And here we are in a court of kings.
Right.
And it's also related to the word curtsy, like when you curtsy.
Right.
So the whole idea of courteous speech is like, it's the speech that signals respect for people.
Right.
So it's very refined. It's respectful, and it's not like saucy clapbacks and stuff like this. You know what I mean? So that's the language of the court, is to maintain an air of courtesy, even if you're talking to your enemy. Like real political or diplomatic speech, you maintain an air of courtesy with your opponent, even.
Would actually make sense in here too, like in this situation, right? Because like they don't really, with the exception of Aragorn and Legolas, and like, I don't even know how much they know Legolas. I mean, they might, just because he's like a prince.
Right. These are just emissaries from the free peoples.
Yeah.
So but they're maintaining this diplomatic air. And so when you see Celeborn chime in, and he's again, he introduced them courteously.
Right.
But then he does something which might be seen as slightly insulting to his guests. Not to say that Celeborn isn't normally courteous, but he, because of this new terrible news of the fall of Gandalf and this rise of the Balrog, Celeborn says, "We have feared that under Caradhras a terror slept. But had I known that the dwarves had stirred up this evil in Moria again, I would have forbidden you to pass the northern borders, you and all that went with you. And if it were possible, one would say that at the last Gandalf fell from wisdom into folly, going needlessly into the net of Moria." So Celeborn is kind of criticizing Gimli, saying we shouldn't have let this scoundrel in to our borders, and saying Gandalf, everyone thinks he's a wise man, being a wizard and all, but he's actually just a fool because he went into Moria.
What a dumbass.
So, in contrast to that, you have Galadriel. Okay,
sorry, can I just real quick?
Yeah.
I mean, reading this again, like actually reading it a lot, like kind of really focusing on this and not just kind of reading it in the story sense. Yeah, it's pretty harsh.
A little bit.
He's kind of like blaming the dwarves and via blaming Gimli for stirring the evil in Moria. But I mean, the evil in Moria was like they had to have known something was under there, right?
Yeah, I think it's kind of normal. Actually, Tolkien usually puts fairly harsh words into the mouths of like kings and rulers, like even like lowlier ones or stewards like Denethor, or when we first meet Theoden or King Thranduil. They're usually like, "Oh, I will not tolerate this in my kingdom."
Not very empathetic.
Not very flexible. Like there's an inflexibility, and I think Celeborn is like, "I'm used to protecting this realm. That's my job. So I'm going to, be inflexibly. I will be inflexible in that task. So I wouldn't let you in." What?
Do you think Celeborn's kind of like here's like where Galadriel like is like the actual real breadwinner and Celeborn's just like that guy that's like her arm candy, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Queen Elizabeth was married to
a little bit,
what was his name? I don't even remember his name.
That's what I'm saying. King Philip? I don't know.
Prince Philip.
Prince Philip.
Mountbatten.
Yeah.
He wasn't even a king.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like
he was like the house husband.
Yeah. It's like, oh, Celeborn.
Oh, Celeborn.
Anyway,
I just keep you around.
Yeah,
but Tolkien's
you amuse me.
Like it's no accident that Tolkien, when he introduces them, he says that they're the same height.
Yeah.
Which to me is like Tolkien saying like she's actually more powerful than him because they're
a
the
little
same.
bit. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. But anyway, so when you'd expect Galadriel, Galadriel like kind of puts Celeborn in his place, or at least
A little bit.
chastises him a little bit. So I think this is actually an important section, so I'm just going to read it real quick.
Okay, yeah.
He would be rash indeed that said that thing.
Actually,
said
hold on. Can you say it in her voice? He would be rash indeed. Sorry.
There is a tempest in me.
Okay, sorry.
No, we'll get to that in a minute. Real quick. So he would be rash indeed that said that thing about Gandalf falling into folly.
Yeah.
Said Galadriel gravely. Needless were none of the deeds of Gandalf in life. Those that followed him knew not his mind and cannot report his full purpose. But however it may be with the guide, the followers are blameless. So she's kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt either way because they were just following him.
Right.
Do not repent of your welcome to the dwarf. If our folk had been exiled long and far from Lothlorien, who of the Galadrim, even Celeborn the Wise, would pass nigh and would not wish to look upon their ancient home, though it had become an abode of dragons? Boom.
Bam.
So speaking with an air of, like I said, respect to these people who she has reason to be diplomatic toward.
I think particularly Gimli,
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And I mean, in the next paragraph, she looked upon Gimli, who sat glowering and sad, and she smiled. And the dwarf, hearing the names, given his own ancient tongue, looked and met her eyes, and it seemed to him that he looked suddenly into the heart of an enemy and saw the love and understanding. I mean, that's kind of, to me, that's kind of Galadriel. I mean, she again, like a peacemaker.
I mean, she knows that there's this natural rift between the dwarves and the elves, and she's there to heal that rift. From then on, Gimli and Legolas became like buddies. I mean, you saw this later where they're kind of wandering around together, and everyone marveled at the change in their relationship. But I think this is the moment where it all changes, where Gimli's like, "Oh, these elves actually care about me and look at me with respect and love,"
Yeah. Yeah, and all of a sudden, like, and Legolas is probably like, "Man, Galadriel really digs this dude." So it must be all right.
But I do want to just point out real quick the difference between this Galadriel that we meet, who is strong, who can like stand up to her husband, even as a strong woman. But you still like her because she's showing respect and courtesy towards others, even people she doesn't know. Compare that real quick with this scene from our favorite show.
Oh, excellent. Can't wait to revisit this.
Just, we don't have to go into the whole scene or anything, but she's saying there's many ways to kill an orc, but for you, I will keep it strong and simple. Calling these people, they're like simpletons.
Yeah.
Like it's like this underhanded insult. Like for you, because you're simpletons, I will keep it simple. I mean, am I reading too much into that?
No,
she doesn't say that much.
Right, but knowing where like how this whole series played out, I mean, it's dumb, because like, and again, I know what I know what the rationale is. Like, it's a young Galadriel, so she's rash and whatever, but it's
feisty.
She's not a young Galadriel.
Even if you do accept that these people are the inferiors of Galadriel, in whatever hierarchy, she should still show courteousness because they're warriors. I mean,
look. I mean, everybody hates the orcs, right? But I think if anybody in Middle Earth like would I don't want to say have compassion, but
if anyone in Middle Earth would be sympathetic towards the orcs, it would be her. I think there's something actually to that.
Yeah.
I just happen to have this. I just happen to have this in the queue. I got this scene.
No. Your kind was a mistake. Made in mockery. And even if it takes me all of this age, I vow to eradicate every last one of you before I drive my dagger into your poisoned heart. And the scourge of your kind ends with you.
It would seem I'm not the only elf alive that's being transformed by darkness. Perhaps your search for Morgoth's successor should have ended in your own mirror.
That was probably the best line of the whole series.
Yes.
What Adar just said. But yeah. So in this scene, and in almost every scene in the series, as we've talked about, when we were talking about the series more regularly, like Adar is a very sympathetic figure.
Yeah.
And Galadriel is never a sympathetic figure because she shows no sympathy to anyone. In this scene, I don't know why the writers chose to make her talk like that.
Right, because the writers didn't read the book.
Right, they didn't understand.
Yeah, they again, it was writing for a modern sensibility that like there was no subtlety. But she should have been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, here you are, I can't forgive what you've done, but like let's see if we can heal you. I don't know, something.
Yeah, something. There should have been something there.
Yeah.
But I guess they just wanted her to be a strong, hard ass, basically.
Which is
but it just didn't work.
Anyway, yeah, but
it made us. It just reinforced our loathing of this, not of this actress, but of this character that they made.
Right.
And our pro Adar stance.
Like with Adar, like they should have like a redemptive arc for this character.
Right.
I mean, we've talked about it.
Seems like there should be.
Yeah, and really the complicated characters in the Lord of the Rings really are the characters that are good, that have like the fallen characters. You know what I'm saying? And like there is a redemptive arc with Theoden. We'll get into that. There's like
to a certain extent, Denethor.
Denethor is like there is no really redemption. There's just a realization at the end of
at the end. Well, that's his. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
and Boromir, obviously,
Boromir and Saruman. And again, there is no redemption for like.
Does Saruman have a redemptive arc?
No, but there
but he's a fallen good person, right?
He's and so like there's a complication that like they're complex characters, way more complex than the orcs and stuff like that. So I don't know.
The most prime example of I think what you're talking about is Gollum.
Yeah. Like, and again, Gollum, like, I don't know if there's a redemption there, but
it's odd that he's the one that actually destroyed the ring.
Right. And then we'll get to that later, like, obviously when we get to that chapter, but I mean, I don't think he's ever redeemed himself. I think like the closest he's come to redemption actually was in the next book, like when he was actually like, when they took the rope off him and he kind of turned a new leaf, that was the closest he's come.
Even if it was in the weird guise of like, oh, I hate Sam, I love Frodo. Like Frodo's my new master, I love Frodo.
Yeah.
And he serves Frodo and he hates Sam.
Right.
He's still serving Frodo and he's still kind of allied suddenly and strangely with the goals of the quest.
Right.
So
But once he figures out what's going on with the quest, then that's when he was like, the temptation became too much, and But again, that's a conversation for another day.
After talking to them, she held them with her eyes.
Yeah, right.
And in silence looked searchingly at each of them in turn. None save Legolas and Aragorn could long endure her glance. Sam quickly blushed and hung his head. Sorry.
Do you think that okay, let's speculate. I mean, like what if her whole mind trick or like the whole like reading of the minds wasn't actually like her whole thing is like you stare at somebody. Like, have you ever like felt guilty about something, right?
Yeah.
And then someone is like looking at you and you're like, oh my God, they know. They must know. They gotta know.
Stare at the ground.
Yeah, no, it's like I have no idea. Like I didn't do that.
Right, like don't look nervous. Don't look nervous.
Yeah,
And you're
don't look nervous. Don't look nervous.
Right.
Or with Sam is some kind of weird fetish fantasy or something like that. It's like I got no clothes on.
A weird what fantasy?
He said I felt like I got no clothes on, or
Right.
whatever he said.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah, I know. So what's up with Sam's mind? Think about Rosie Cotton. Maybe he's thinking about Rosie Cotton.
Right.
I
was in Rosie Cotton's hedgerow.
Yes.
Well, no clothes.
But again, it's like whatever they desired most, or whatever. And I think they just were like, oh. Again, with Boromir, she was probably tempting him with the ring, but I don't think she was tempting him. I think she was just like. That's like I can't quite put it into words, but it's like whatever was there. It's again the whole like whatever evil men bring it into Lothlorien. Yeah. She's bringing that desire out in him, and she wasn't putting it there. She wasn't tempting him with anything. I don't think.
But I think it's also interesting that, or very telling, that Boromir was the one person who went away from this probing exercise with what I just think is like a negative view of Lady Galadriel. Like, whereas everyone's like kind of focusing on themselves, like, oh, I felt nervous. I looked down. I was bashful. I was thinking about being naked or whatever. Boromir's like, screw her. She's a weirdo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Again, that's what I was saying. Maybe it was only a test and she thought to read our thoughts for her own good purpose, but I almost should have said that she was tempting us and offering what she pretended to have the power to give.
Right. Right. Like for her own purposes, like she's the one with the ill intentions. Whereas before exactly, they're like, oh, I have like Pippin's like, you're going to steal my blanket. You have bad intentions. But Boromir's the one's like, no, she's got the bad intentions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Then, and again, like, and this was again, like more telling of Boromir and his kind of like fall from mentality, grace, so to speak. Yeah.
His what?
Well, not that it is fall from grace or fall from goodness, because it only lasts like what like a paragraph or so, But
it's just more breadcrumbs for the fall of Boromir. Like Tolkien's telegraphing the fact that this guy has some issues. He's not to be trusted because he doesn't trust the lady who Gimli, like she's like Gimli had reason to be suspicious of the lady.
Yeah.
But now that Gimli's been won over by her, but Boromir's almost had the opposite impression of her. Like, oh, she's not to be trusted. Right. Now that I've met her, she's still not to be trusted, which just makes him not to be trusted.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then Aragorn was like, speak no evil of the Lady Galadriel, but it basically it's like, and again, to sum up like what I was saying, it's like, there is in her and in this land no evil unless a man bring it hither himself.
So what does that say about you, Boromir?
Yeah, come on, Boromir. But again, Boromir's like doesn't trust her anyway. So that's kind of like the whole idea.
Yeah. I think Boromir should just toot his horn at this point.
Yes, I'm leaving.
I'm out of here, guys.
What if it's like Boromir's real tempted, like what he really wanted in his heart was just to be a trumpet player.
But my dad Denethor wouldn't let me.
I know. I just want to play my horn, Dad.